Welcome. There's a scattered severe risk for storms today across the area of southwestern Ontario, specifically in Essex and Kent counties. Strong storms, potential flooding, damaging winds, and a couple embedded tornadoes are possible today. We'll be live with you here tracking them as they progress throughout the day. As we begin here, we're just going to take a look at what's happening right now. Let's turn off the music, at least for now. So, what's happening as we speak? Well, it's pretty simple. We got a thunderstorm here near Pontiac, Michigan. It's currently moving to the northeast and going to be affecting areas just to the north of Pontiac, possibly near Ortonville and Oxford Charter Township in the near future here, before moving on to areas like Inland City, Yale, Brown City, Crosswell, those areas in the further out future. Of course, down here in Essex County, we don't got to worry about much right now. Our storms are coming a lot later tonight, as we will take a look at here from our areas down south in Illinois and Indiana. We got some incredible thunderstorms entering Kentucky here near Indianapolis there. You can see these two, this band of thunderstorms is going to be slowly moving this way throughout the day towards us. And along it, training thunderstorms are going to be forming here. You can already see a couple forming down here and a couple forming in Michigan, which will slowly edge their way towards the east over the coming hours, which is what we're going to be watching out here. Near Battle Creek, we already got a strong cell popping off here. Let's take a look. Any rotation with these thunderstorms is possible, as we have some wind shear in the air today. Due to our close proximity to that low pressure system, we are under a Essex Storm Center rated scattered severe risk, which is level 2 out of 5 on our scale. Technically a level 2 out of 6 if you count the 0, but that's just general thunderstorm. So level 2 out of 5 today. The SPC has a slight risk in effect for this area, as we will go over in a sec, which is also a level 2 out of 5. So pretty good agreement here between our team and the SPC. So let's take a look at what we got down here. Special weather statements for likely 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. 50-mile-an-hour penny-sized hail, and 50 to 55 miles an hour. So almost severe thunderstorm limits there. We still do have, I assume this is going to get canceled here shortly, or at least expire. Yes. So, it's still going on. We have a tornado possible severe thunderstorm warning here. If we take a look, strong inflow bands here coming in near Marshfield and Neongua. Strong wind shear there in Missouri there. Could see some strong wind gusts, and like I said, a couple isolated tornadoes. Down here, we have a tornado watch in effect for Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas and Oklahoma. So these storms down here, these many bunches of them, are going to be spawning potentially some, holy crap, what the? Anyways, potentially some tornadoes down here. So that's basically the gist of what's happening. We're actually going to go through into some of this in depth right now. So let's quickly pull up here, start it. Let's go with the SPC to start. They actually just released a new mesoscale discussion. So let's switch over here. Stop sharing to the SPC's page here. So this is what we got going on here. See there, a tornado watch down here for those areas, as I previously mentioned, and a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for areas north of that. Let's take a look at this tornado watch here. Moderate chance of tornadoes, low chance, but moderate of basically everything else except for 2+ inch hail. 40% chance for 2 or more tornadoes. So we will see how that goes. Mesoscale discussion recently issued here for this severe thunderstorm watch. You can see this very long line of severe thunderstorms there. And our thunderstorm outlook predicts mainly a 70 and 40% chance across this region here, including our region actually, which is under 40 in both of these here. I don't know if you can see the fly, but that is really bugging me. So, as I said previously, they have a slight risk here for areas down here, including Memphis, Shreveport, Little Rock, Jackson, Springfield, a couple other areas, like Texarkana down over here as well, Memphis. I believe I already mentioned that. Yeah. Rolling Fork over here. A lot of different places they're experiencing some stuff like that. Lake City. Areas that were actually affected by a couple tornadoes earlier this year are under the threat today. So we'll see how that goes. So second one here. Areas near St. Louis there. Springfield, Illinois is also under that. Fort Worth, Texas. Just quite a few there. Here, we could probably, we don't need to turn on cities. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, or sorry, Lexington, Kentucky, I believe is under the threat. Dayton, Toledo, Detroit. A lot of areas today under the threat. Fort Wayne, Michigan, Indiana. A lot of places under threat today. So, Nashville, Knoxville, you get the gist. So, Birmingham down there as well. Baton Rouge too. So, quite a bit of areas under the gun today. In fact, 39 million people are under marginal and 12 million are under the slight. A 2% tornado risk actually does stretch up into our region, which I do want to talk about here in a little bit here. See that 2%, the northern half of it does just barely stretch into our area of responsibility there. As you can tell, we are right on the edge of that. We are right there. So we are under the threat of potentially some embedded tornadoes within this line of severe thunderstorms. I'm going to take you to the Essex Storm Center page to take a look at what I'm talking about here. A scattered severe risk we have in effect for today. That's a 2 out of 5, just like the SVC. Level 1 stretches from areas up here north of Grand Bend and onwards up basically along this entire peninsula of Ontario here. Down to southern Essex County near Kingsville, Colchester, and Leamington. I'd say it's the limit, along with Chatham over here being our limit there. Going almost to London, but not quite. Sarnia and Windsor are the main cities underneath this yellow shading, though Wallaceburg and LaSalle, Tecumseh, Lakeshore, Bell River, all those areas are also under that threat. And the non-severe thunderstorm risk covers London, Barrie, areas like that. Port Stanley over here as well, Ridgetown, Point Pelee and Pelee Island are also under that 0. But I believe Owen Sound's up there as well under it. So, yeah. And if our area of responsibility did go further north, Sudbury, Muskoka, those areas also going to be under that risk. And outside of this area, the areas not under threat of any thunderstorms today are Toronto, Hamilton, Mississauga, Peterborough, Niagara Falls, Kitchener. So those areas are not under the threat of any severe weather whatsoever today. Likely going to be some rain showers, but that's about it. So let's take a look at our discussion here. A strong area of low pressure is expected to move across the area tonight. With this low pressure comes strong low-level wind shear, which is expected to increase and may force low-top thunderstorms to fire across the area this afternoon. Strong forcing for ascent may help with this development as buoyancy will remain rather weak, keeping the convection less organized than as areas south of the border. However, some storms may be able to reach severe limits across the border as they will train overnight, bringing the risk for flash flooding, wind gusts, and some embedded tornadoes of the storms can tap into great 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity values and falling heights, especially in areas over southwestern Lake Erie. So basically, if you're not a weather nerd, what that's saying is potential for thunderstorms comes tonight with a round of showers and thunderstorms that will likely train over the area for several hours. So we'll take a look at the models in a sec to show you what I mean, but generally speaking, this area down here in green and yellow is the area you want to watch out for. The 0 won't have much, but this water spout risk over here is what we want to specifically look at here in the coming hours here. So we'll take a look back at our radar in a sec, but that is just the gist of it from the Essex Storm Center's point of view. So likely, actually, I'll be issuing probably a mesoscale discussion here within the next little bit, as, yeah, it's looking likely that severe thunderstorm watch might be issued by us. So, scattered severe thunderstorms. Here's a really, really simple summary. Scattered storms are possible today as a low pressure passes through. That's basically as simple as you can make it. And if you can't see this, that just says scattered severe risk. So, if you're not already if you haven't already, go check out our website. We do have the new bus cancellation chances, predicting fog days and snow days across areas B and A for Essex County. Area A currently has all none % chances throughout the next week, as Area A doesn't go under fog days. They only go under snow days, and there's no chance for snow. So there, Area B goes under fog days, which is why you see 2 10% chances. But generally this week, it's not looking so great for fog. Maybe towards the end of the week, but we will see. So that is a summary of what we got going on right now, at least. So we are going to take a look at some models here. It is the day of, but I still want to take a couple glances here at the HRRR run, or the latest one, to see what we got. So you can see here, there's what we got right now. That band is going to slowly move northeast here. You can see training storms going to be forming. Take a look here, backed winds there. That's going to be favorable for any sort of tornado development. Strong backed wind gusts actually here. We'll take a sounding in a sec, but it's looking decent. I will say that. Storms will die, however, as the nighttime will cool the atmosphere off. Though temperatures will likely remain in the 60s overnight, as the dew points are going to be in the 60s as well. Likely mid 60s-ish tonight. Low to mid 60s dew points, which is also what the temperature are going to be. So that brings the risk of fog to areas north of the peninsula here. This is mainly for our folks in northern Ontario. However, they could be experiencing some heavy fog tomorrow morning. So be prepared on the roads for that, especially with the accompanying rain as well. So rain and fog, not very safe driving conditions. However, here in southwestern Ontario, we should be good for the fog, but areas north there, maybe closer to this upper peninsula, may get some fog. So we will have to see how that plays out. But generally speaking, southwestern Ontario should be good for fog tonight. But you see here, strong wind gusts expected with this, which is kind of our main concern here. You can see here, cherry pick a couple here. Here's on Peely Island there, could get up to 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That is just crazy. But in generally speaking, we're expecting around 40 to 50-mile-an-hour gusts across the entire area, which is quite high. You can see they're heavily backed. Actually, what my main concern about this is that heavily backed winds here. Some veering as we get closer to that front there, but around our location, we got backed winds, which is just not great. Not what you want to see for tornado development. However, we don't have a lot of good ingredients in play for tornadoes tonight, so our tornado risk isn't that high. You see high SRH values, that storm relative velocity, sufficient for maybe brief spin-ups. 0 to 3 kilometer cape also looks good. Right now, it's not great. In fact, we almost have like 0. You can see there, yeah, literally 0. But as the day progresses on, we will get more, and our temperatures will also climb near the 80s. Actually, some spots may reach 80 degrees. Right now, actually, it is also near 80 as I speak. Actually, I believe if we take a look here, it is 79. So we are likely to hit the 80 mark today. Probably going to get outside in a little bit and enjoy some of that, actually. So we'll take a look at how that goes. But as some other models here, let's see what they predict. 12Z run from the NAM here showing simulated. Yeah, you can see there's that band. It's a little stronger than what the NAM has here, so we will have to see how that plays out in its newest run, which will be coming out in less than an hour. So we will have to see how that plays out. It could play out nice, or it could not play out nice. We will have to see. So that is what we got going on. Basically, that's a quick old summary. Now, let's head over here and take a look here what we have right now. We've missed a little bit here because now we have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, such as this one here in Missouri. Yeah, we got a bit of a gust front here forming here. You can see winds, let's see here, up to 60 miles an hour here measured by radar, 64. Strong wind gusts. I assume, yeah, that's for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Makes sense in my opinion. What do we got here? Let's take a look. Severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and 1-inch hail. You take a look back at our storms up here, see what's going on with them. You can see that Battle Creek cell's still doing all right. New cell here near Jackson, Michigan. We got no data from our airport radar, which kind of sucks, but that's all right. And you can see there's your little front here. You can actually see it on radar. That's pretty cool. And let's head a look towards Chicago. We got a couple storms firing up down there, but as we said previously, this is going to be our main focus heading into tonight. This big old thing. In fact, we do have a little embedded rotation already near Cass there. That is going to be in Indiana, so that is a neighboring state to Michigan. So we're going to have to watch this closely, as you can see there. Bit of some red and greens mixing together. It's not all too significant right now, but there could be something to watch here. I imagine they'll at least issue a special weather statement on that. We shall see what they do with that. That's a pretty good summary there of what's been going on. We got it in just 16 minutes, so that's nice here. Let's quickly give me a sec here. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look outside, see what's happening right now. Why not? Sunny skies here. High clouds visible, but not too bad. Sunny skies, so that's sufficient for organization of severe thunderstorms. Buoyancy is rather weak tonight, though, so that will limit the convection to likely being low-topped, at least across our region. Areas further south are already decent convection with lots of lightning. We might not have a lot of lightning with our storms tonight. So that's what we got going on right now. So now it's time. Now that we've summarized all of it, gotta wait till something happens and then see how that goes. So all right. Some parts of the stream I may go off. Some parts I may come back, as previously aforementioned. It's going to be like a 7-hour stream. Potentially could be go longer than that, actually. So we will see how this goes. We flip back up to here. Let's take a look at Essex County. Essex County right now is in the clear. A couple storms off to our northwest, but overall, as of now, we're looking pretty good in the county here. Nice sunny day. Get out and enjoy it. It's a windy one. As mentioned, we are close proximity to that low pressure system. So that is going to bring strong wind gusts on the front and back end of it, especially the front end, actually. Once we get towards that cold front, once that cold front sweeps right through, we're going to see a lot of wind gusts with that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one today. So let's see here. I'm just going to go quickly take a look at a couple other models. Yeah, okay. All right. So we got, wow, good amount. We'll see. Okay, well, we'll see how this plays out today. If we can get some storms to develop later on, potentially in like 1 or 2 hours, those storms are going to be the ones that have an actual potential or actual possibility. Getting us here, you can see some lightning starting to fire up with the Kanaki ones in Indiana while they're entering Indiana from Illinois. And southwest of Urbana there, you got a couple near Terre Haute, whatever. I want to take a look at this line again because just wow, look at that. That is incredible. That line is a lot stronger, I believe, than what was modeled here from in models like the NAM 3K. So we'll see how the environment adjusts to that. See, in this area here, we basically got nothing except for a couple pop-ups in Michigan. So that's what we got here. I don't know if Environment Canada has a risk on this threat for today. Let's see. Um, Jesus, that's kind of funny. Okay. Wow. Same possible. Okay. Here, I'm gonna personally here go to ECCC to see what their thunderstorm outlook say if they have anything for today. Um. Ah, so they don't issue them anymore because okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's like not. Yeah, it's not September anymore, so they don't issue those. Forgot about that. Oopsies. Well, I believe instant weather doesn't have one, so we, I believe, are the only ones that do actually have a risk for today. I know neighboring people in the states, Michigan, storm chasers also have a level 2 risk for today, which is equivalent to a low, which, yeah, a low risk seems about sufficient for today's outlook, as it's not looking great. But some thunderstorms are possible tonight, so we might get a bit of a light show. So that's a good thing. If you guys like light shows, then tonight might be your kind of night. It's gonna be a laid back, kind of chill night, just with a nice little light show, rumbling, and it's gonna be thundering all night. So there you go. Of course, the added risk of a couple gusty winds and maybe an embedded tornado is not fun, but that's just how life goes sometimes. So, with that being said, as of now, I'm not seeing too much here. So, we're going to take our break here for a little while, go automated, and we'll check back in about 30 minutes to an hour to see how these storms are doing. I'll keep the radar looping up for you guys so you guys can see it in live action. I'll check in once in a while. If I have anything to say, I will pop in and say it. But for now, that's going to be it for me. Thank you for staying with us for the past 20 minutes. I will be back.